I was born November the 20th, 1919, in Springfield, Illinois, in the Springfield Hospital. I was the second child. My sister, Eleanor, was 5 years older than I, despite the fact we got along pretty well. The high school was an all-girls school. We did have prom, but we didn't have any boys. That sounds terrible, but we just had a prom and the girls danced together. And when I was a senior in the academy, they allowed us to have boys, and we were the first class that could. So we felt like that was a real accomplishment. My mother told me that even when I was a little girl, I said I wanted to be a nurse. It was hard. We got up at 5:30 in the morning to go to Mass before we went to breakfast, and then we went on duty. I think you would say it was hard, but I enjoyed it. I graduated from nursing school in 1940. Well, it just happened that when the war started and they needed nurses, my friend Ruth said, let's go into the Army. So we both decided to go into the Army, and I was sworn in on February the 5th, 1942. And my father was so proud of me. The way I met Kohl was that when Ruth and Swarty got married, Kohl and I were the attendants. I was impressed because he was a person of dependability and integrity. Just something about him. I liked him immediately. I only knew him for a short time. In fact, I really only knew him about 10 days, and he asked me to marry him. He and his group, the tank destroyers, were immediately transferred down to Texas. We got married in Texas because in the meantime, I was also transferred to Texas. Well, our wedding was performed in Lampasas, Texas, by the priest who was a priest of Lampasas, Texas. Ruth stood up with us, and she and I came together. We had a reception at the Officers Club. We took the train to Dallas, Texas, and then on to Springfield, Illinois. Kohl knew my father was kind of antsy about my marriage. When we got to home, Kohl said to Dad, well, I guess I better throw my hat in. And my father always liked him right away. And he had me transferred to McCloskey General Hospital in Temple, Texas. When I got pregnant, then that was, at that time, was cause for letting you out of the Army. And Michele was born in Temple. Kay was born 11 and a half months later.
What was the
Well, the war was on. We had to get our family going. And then Kohl received orders to serve in the Southwest Pacific. So it was a very dangerous assignment. Well, any war is dangerous. Then when Kohl finally returned from the war, it seemed like finally our family would be together and we could be normal. But this wasn't the case.
Mrs. Eileen Kohl and her two children, Michele and Carolyn, will sail Friday from New York to join Captain Clement J. Kohl, who is stationed in Berlin, Germany. The embarkees expect to be abroad for 2 years or more.
When we first arrived in Berlin, things were so terrible. The ruins were just block after block after block of buildings down to the ground. I just remember when he was first born, we were so thrilled, and I was so thrilled because he was a boy. He was born in an Army hospital, so that meant that he could be President of the United States despite the fact that he was born in Germany. I just thought he was beautiful. The reason Kohl had me leave Berlin because he was afraid of what might happen because the Russians had blockaded Berlin. We went to the Tempelhof airport. From Berlin to Frankfurt, we were in this cargo plane that just had seats we could sit on the side, and the children sat on the floor. and we got to Frankfurt and stayed in the hotel there until we were able to get a plane back to, we flew back to the United States in a naval plane. I'm sure I was glad to be back, but I hated to be away from Kohl and to have our family separated, you know. We were reunited when Kohl came back to the States in 1949. I got pregnant and Mary Jean Kohl was born. Then Kohl was in Korea, I guess, for a year. Despite the fact that he did have frontline involvement, he suffered no injury. Kohl returned from Korea, and then we continued our Army life, serving at different Army bases. His last assignment was Fort Des Moines, Iowa. I eventually went to work at Mercy Hospital in the maternity section under wonderful, wonderful Sister Zita. I was already pregnant with Jodi, and I thought she was going to be born in early February. However, she arrived in January the 10th. And then 3 years later, we were surprised to bring Jodi a little sister. Terri arrived on January the 8th, 1958, yeah. It was a constant challenge having children of so many different ages. I don't ever remember having any problems with my girls. They were so busy with school and with helping at home because I worked 3 to 11. Couldn't have done it all without Michele and Kay. I don't remember any problems at all with girls or with Ron. Well, for the last time, the Kohl family moved from West Des Moines, Iowa to St. Petersburg, Florida. At that time, my sister was living with my mother. We rented a house in Pinellas Park to live in until our house at 6000 Fifth Avenue South was built. And I was working at St. Anthony's Hospital in the maternity department again. Kohl, of course, had an Army retirement, and but of course with 6 children to go through college, even with my working as a nurse, and we weren't making all that much then, Kohl eventually got a job working at the post office as a mail carrier, which he did until he was 75. On the way back home, we visited Michael and Jodi. They had the last visit with Kohl because he was really getting weaker and more tired from the effects of the leukemia. We reached home on May the 16th and died on June the 22nd. Although losing Kohl was a great shock, my life continued to be very busy and with my family, Steve and Kay close by, and with Ron and Virginia. Ron assigned to Fort MacDill. They've got a house in Brandon. And of course, I have many, many friends here and in other places through my nursing. I have been blessed by God through all my life. I just feel like I owe so much to God, I can never repay Him.